the day after the bank holiday. Kids are on half term. We didn't plan this, obviously, very well in that respect. So thank you all for coming. We really do appreciate it. Thank you to Simon for coming along to talk to you guys all about AI and what's happened at Pets at Home. About 18 months ago, Simon and I had a conversation where he kind of said, well, you know, I'm moving jobs slightly within the business and I'm going all in on AI. And I was like, well, brilliant. You know, if there's one guy that's going to be able to unpick it all, then Simon's the man. Simon's been working in IT architecture for what?
Too long. 20, 30 years.
So thank you, Simon, for coming along. Really appreciate it. We'll get cracking. I think we're going to make it a real interactive workshop. So we want you to come up with as many questions, thoughts, ideas, what's going on in your businesses, you know, and really we'll hopefully you'll come away with something from today. So I'll hand over to Simon.
Cool. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, this wasn't quite the construct I was planning, but our first speaker didn't turn up, so we'll make it a bit more interactive. Can I just do a bit of questions? Who is actually using AI in their day-to-day jobs or work today? Ooh-ish, show of hands. How many are just using ChatGPT and nothing more than that? Same show of hands, really. Okay, that's all right, mate. So what I wanted to do is tell you a little about what we've done at Pets at Home. The spaghetti western, as I call it, the good, the bad, the ugly. But let's make it interactive, right? It's about trying to share, for me, and one of the things I'll talk a little bit about it, we're going to partner with Microsoft and set up a Northwest AI sort of group that can all get together to share stories and stuff. So not sure if there's any Man U fans here, but they've got UA92 in Manchester, so they're going to host a whole bunch of events. So we'll make sure we get everybody's details and you can get invited to that. I've got one of the best roles at Pets. Does everybody know who Pets at Home are? Yeah? Ish? We've got an ish, right. So for those that don't know, Pets at Home is the biggest pet care provider in the UK. So we've got over 450 pet care centres, over 460 veterinary practices, and we've got about 300 grooming. So it's like retail, health and beauty, effectively. I used to work for Boots, and it's almost the exact same model, but it's for animals. We're based just down the road in Handforth, and I've got the best job at Pets at Home, right? Sam says about 18 months ago, we did some work with the board and we said, you know, this thing AI, and by the way, this AI isn't new. AI started 80 odd years ago. This ChatGPT and generative AI is the one that suddenly everybody's kind of, oh, this is cool, what can it do? But when I talk about AI, and hopefully you appreciate it, it's a suitcase term. It's one thing, like, if nothing else everybody takes away, they're all different types of artificial intelligence that can be used and deployed. The cool, new, sexy, shiny thing is what they call the large language models, these transformers. So you get Gemini from Google, you've got OpenAI's ChatGPT, get Copilot from Microsoft, Claude from Anthropic. These are brilliant things, but they're still a bit shiny, right? And I'll talk about the reality of some of those in a minute. So about 18 months ago, Pets at Home decided to invest, and we created an innovation team, right? I don't know the size of the organisations or where you're from, so we'll start to share that in a little bit. But we made the decision to invest in a small team, 2-3 people, and all we do is we go and look and kick the technology. Why? Because it's on a double exponential change curve at the moment. If anybody that's worked in IT or related to IT, it's change after change after change after change after change, right? IT reinvents itself probably every few years normally. The vendors need to get their money, right? Nobody here from Microsoft or Google? Just checking. Salesforce? No? It's all right if you are. I'll say it to your face anyway, it doesn't matter. I used to work for Oracle, transparency, I used to work for Oracle, so I know about trying to get money out of customers. But what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years is this double exponential change curve, and it's trying to sort out for us what's the wheat from the chaff, what's really real, and what's actually valuable to the business. if you are in the business of looking at technology in your roles, in any shape or form, you will not find a single vendor or partner that doesn't have the word AI somewhere in their product, in their services. Today, if you've not got AI, you won't even be looked at. Congrats on your launch, by the way, today. I shouldn't have just said that. But it's there for a reason. People are generally interested, and it can move the needle, but there's real realities about it. So a couple of weeks ago, I was asked to go across Thailand, and as a mate of mine wanted me to go and present to a financial institution over there about when should they start using AI, right? And one thing I would say to you is now's a good time, right? Now's actually a good time to at least start to experiment about how you can plug it into your ecosystem if you've got one. Why am I saying now's a good time? The hype over these language models is actually slightly over. They are what they are. The thing that's actually starting to make a difference within the technology space is we're getting standards and companies are starting to work together. So Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, all these big Anthropic, all these big players have now created open standards that allow you to connect into your systems and to work together. It's not quite there. Some of these are new, so there'll be loads of new acronyms. A to A, agent to agent, MCP, Model Context Protocol, apologies. MCP is brilliant. It's like USB-C adapter effectively into AI that allows you to connect to any of your systems, right? So there's all these things that have been holding back companies from little silos or little ChatGPT experiments to actually be able to create end-to-end enterprise types of solutions. So the market's maturing. What we're also starting to see is, I've talked about this double exponential kind of curve, that's tailing. It's actually starting to tail off. Everybody's been hyped about these language models. Now, the language models are fantastic, right? So whether you use OpenAI's or whether you use Google's, that's an arms race. It's also a commodity. And I genuinely believe they are becoming commodities, right? So Microsoft last week had their Build 2025 conference. Don't know if MD's seen it, right? But they did. Yep, good lad. Last week they announced over 10,000 large language models are now available on Microsoft Azure. Fantastic. Meh. Right? A model's a model, a model. You will find the right model for you, or your industry will. Right? What will start to happen is there's open source, there's closed source, and there's a good mix, but there's this proliferation, I had to think it before I said that, of models. The reality, what we found is the out-the-box models are 99% good. We actually spent 9 months taking OpenAI's out-the-box model, never tweaked it, never did anything to it, and built a test bed for our vets to have it as a general practitioner assistant to our vets. It's 95, 96% accurate every time. All right, out the box, having done effectively nothing to it. There was some smart apps and stuff we put around it, but there is a lot of hype about you need to customize this, you need to customize that. In a lot of cases, you don't. All right, and the models become increasingly powerful every couple of weeks or months, and it almost feels like every week. So there's new releases. Now that's part of our job. We're lucky we've got this little innovation team. We test some of these models. So we've actually just honed in on, because you can't test 10,000 different models, right? You just can't do it. So you got to back a horse, right? And we've backed Microsoft or transparency. Microsoft is a core tech partner because it's got a platform. I'll talk a bit about that in a little bit as well. And we've just went with the OpenAI models to begin with because they're good enough. They're not specialist in veterinary care, they're not specialist in retail, but they're good enough to be able to go across our business. So the market is mature, and the thing that's different are these. This term. One minute, sit down. And again, it's a little bit about IT kind of reinventing itself. So, has everybody heard of agents? AI agent, agentic technology, couple of nods. If anybody that's worked in IT for the last number of years, we talk about small pieces of software, composable architecture. You buy a bit of this and a bit of this and you plug them together and do that. Agentic's actually no different, except it's smart. It's got a level of intelligence that's powered by these models. And what we're starting to see, I think, over the next couple of years is, again, this move away from the hype about LLMs. They're important and they will continue to evolve. But actually how you can deploy agents, intelligence across your enterprise and then join them up. Right? Some real world examples of where we really have, they're live now, we have deployed them. So for me, there's 3 different types of agents. There's what we call RAG agent. Everybody heard of RAG? Yes, no? Nope, right. So basically chatbot type agents that are trained on your knowledge. I'm going to talk about knowledge and data a little bit because it's really, really important. Everybody talks about data and they forget about your knowledge, what makes you unique, what makes your business special, right? That's actually more important and to me with large language models and agents. But we picked some test cases. Top tip, when you look at AI within your business, you'll find hundreds of examples where you can deploy it. Don't go for hundreds of examples. Pick 1 or 2 and learn. That's what we've done, right? And there's a bag and the ugly. We've got this funnel approach, business case approach at Pets at Home, and basically we only ever attack 2 or 3 AI business cases at a time, right? Partially because some of it's new. Don't underestimate business change. Everybody thinks it's coming for your jobs. It's not, by the way. Not yet. Maybe in 5 or 6 years' time, but it's not. We've got a policy, we build assistants. We don't build things that replace people. They're there to assist our colleagues in whatever their role is. So one of the ones we picked, for example, was fraud, right? Online fraud. Is anybody here from a retailer? No? Yep, okay. So returns, refunds, online, big problem. There's gangs going around trying to play the system and how you do it. So we picked that one because our fraud team's quite small. We want to scale and identify reduce the amount of loss that we may have through fraud. And we also want to improve the consumer experience, right? Because it can be quite a high friction sort of environment that. So what we built was what we call an autonomous agent. So there's 3 types of agents for me. One that is knowledge-based and just chat to it. Right? Typical kind of chatbot, OpenAI, ChatGPT, but you give it your knowledge. Second one is task-based. You ask the AI agent to do work for you, right? But you tell it to do something. And the third one is autonomous, where the AI agent just goes and does the work behind the scenes and presents back either an outcome or takes an action as well, right? And there's a combination of those. So for our fraud, we created an autonomous agent. So whenever a return refund request comes in online through a contact center, right? Quite an old-fashioned contact center, we'll have a chat. Whether it's live chat, whether it's email, whether it's telephony, the agent automatically kicks in, the AI agent automatically kicks in and does a whole bunch of fraud checks, 5, 6 systems, brings it all back, and then produces a report for the contact center colleague and the fraud agent that's basically a full detailed risk profile. Now, normally that would take about 30, 40 minutes, right? Particularly for high value and complex cases. Average is 1 minute 43. Right? The time saving alone is immense, so we've got efficiency. But what it's also opened up is we have certain rules and thresholds where we'll look at something. We can take all those thresholds away. We can now look at everything, every transaction, everything that's going on, and these AI agents will be doing the work in the background and providing our colleagues with that output, right? And that was actually the world's first Microsoft autonomous agents. So we took an approach of getting stuck in, finding a new use case, and kind of pushing the envelope. The reality, though, is the tech isn't as good as tech companies might sell you. That sound unusual? It's a maturing space, and this is one of the things I'd sort of always say to everybody is Microsoft, Google, Salesforce, whoever it might be, are all learning as much as we're learning. They are masters at marketecture. Mix your marketing with your architecture, comes up in a presentation, looks fantastic. Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. In fact, I'll just plug it in, it'll go. Yeah. Just be careful of the hype side. Even last week at the Microsoft's big build event, and Salesforce's Agentforce event the week before, they're still selling futures. They are still selling futures. Here's a new thing, great, but it won't be out till August. Or here's a new thing, and it probably won't work quite the way that you say. So an example of that last week was, as I said, there's all this interoperability, put my teeth back in, that Google's done a great thing. He's created this agent-to-agent open platform technology that allows, whether you're Microsoft or custom built or whatever, your agents can go and speak to all these agents, right? Their vision, by the way, is you take the human out of the loop entirely, and all these AI agents will communicate with other AI agents, right? It'll come, right? It will come. We've got use cases, but the technology's not there yet. But the way that they're pitching it is it's here today. It's not. It's not here today. It's coming, right? But what you'll still need is you'll need your engineering resources, because agents are effectively, to implement these types of technologies, you will still get the Microsofts and whatever of the world talking about low code, no code. You still need to do something in the short term, right? So if you want something powerful working together, you will still need engineers. You'll still need to design your agents. Going back a year and a half ago, everybody was trying to do everything in one mega prompt. Everybody heard about prompting and prompt technologies. It's how you write the instruction for the large language model to solve a problem, right? And they'd write these big, complex mega prompts that would try and do everything. We're moving back to a world where you have small, composable, intelligent agents that do one job really blooming good. But then you have a whole series of them that you start to hook up, right? And that's one tip I would definitely say to everybody is start thinking in that way and approach it. Break problems down, make them simple, get the AI agent doing a really, really good job of that thing, and then have a roadmap of how you could bring some of these things together in order to create that value chain. It's one of the learnings we've had. Again, marketecture, they turn up and go, oh, you can do this, you can do all this in one, co-pilot agent. You can't. It just becomes so clunky, so unmanageable. The other thing I would say is not all of these sort of big vendors are equal in terms of how they're approaching the problems. If you look at what Google got really caught out. I don't know if you guys use Google in your technology stack. We use some of it. But Google got really, really caught out with the whole ChatGPT, large language model thing, which is bizarre when you think about it because they created the algorithm. The transformer algorithm that large language models are built on, Google actually invented. They created that algorithm. But the market took it way, way further than they ever could have imagined. Now, interestingly, keep an eye on Google. If you're in the tech space, keep an eye on it. They created a new algorithm and announced a new one a couple of weeks ago called a diffusion model. A couple of years' time, that will be the one to watch. But Google get really caught out, and they're trying to catch up. They're really massively trying to catch up. Microsoft pulled a blinder, in my view. They've created this fully open ecosystem where I said you can get 10,000 models, but you can effectively do anything on their tech stack. You don't need to use their models. They've got their own, but you can basically plug and play whatever you want to do. And Salesforce, if you're in that kind of CRM contact center sort of place, they've focused on something called Agentforce, but is agents just on their stack for the moment. So the market is very segmented, but where Microsoft is particularly going, which I find interesting, I mentioned this low code, no code thing before. What that means is non-IT professionals can actually create these agents. Right. That's here now. So what we've done at Pets at Home, has everybody got M365 licenses in your business? Yeah. Right. Does MD use M365 chat out of interest? Best kept secret, right? It's Copilot chat for the enterprise. So if you've got M365, you've got these licenses. They are free, you got them. So if you go back to work today, go and have a look at M365 Copilot chat. Just looks like ChatGPT, which is grand. But on the right-hand side, little tip, it's got an agent pane. All right. Now this is where I think they're smart, because they've created a place within the enterprise where you can deploy agents for people to use. And as part of that, every single one of you in this room that's got that license can go create agent. And what it does is it gives you a Copilot Studio Lite interface that allows you to create agents that do certain types of tasks. So if you're in retail, you might want to know what your competitors are doing. You can create an agent that will go and analyze your competitor landscape. It'll go to their website. It'll take what promotions have they got on. You can look at categories. You can do this. So our team has basically got a bunch of agents looking at competitors. And they just run it every day. They're web scraping with a bit of brains, effectively. But you can put a prompt on, and what you can do is you can give it your strategy, and then you can say, comparing our strategy with what I'm seeing from the competitor, can you provide me analysis of what we should be doing? That starts to move the needle, right? It's not that a human can't do it, and it's not that a human isn't doing it, but suddenly that human can save a number of hours of work, get insight, and focus on the recommendations and creating action, right? The next thing that those things will have is actions, by the way. So you might find that the agent will go and do something, find a promotion that is really interesting, automatically emails the buying team or the promo team, so all this is coming. That's there today if you've got those licenses. So if nothing else, go and have a look at that. But what you'll see with that Copilot Studio is that low code, no code. You're not a developer. You'll never need to go near anything. It's all done. However, if you do have developers within your business, which is presume organization, or a partner that can do it for you, what you can do is you can build more sophisticated agents that do need some coding, that do need connectors. So our fraud agent, for example, was built using Copilot Studio, but it connects into Salesforce, right? It connects into different parts of our ecosystem that needs a little bit of savvy to it, but also takes risk profiles. It also takes other pieces of knowledge and brings those together. We just publish that to our fraud team on that interface. So how do you get these agents out to the target communities you want? Microsoft started to frame that. Google doesn't have any of that. Agentforce, Salesforce doesn't have any of that. So they're actually quite smart. They've got your desktop, right? That's where Microsoft's going. If you listen to Satya Nadella, who's the chief exec of Microsoft, Copilot, this agentic AI interface, is where they are going in the future. Last little thing, and then let's get some questions and stuff going. Knowledge. I mentioned knowledge before. I'm sure everybody in your organizations talks about big data, databases. It's all about getting data in there, analyzing the data. Yes, keep doing that. The missing piece of the puzzle is the knowledge. It's actually how do you do things. Right. One of the key learnings for us was our knowledge management wasn't very good. Still isn't great. We're doing it in pockets. If MD's old enough to remember MBAs 20, 30 years ago, I am, it was all about knowledge management. Today everybody thinks you should throw something into SharePoint, knowledge is done. It's not. Crap in, crap out. Always remember that phrase. If you've got crap knowledge going into a large language model and you're trying, or agent, you're trying to do something, you're going to get crap out. If you've got inconsistent knowledge going into these AI models, don't complain when it hallucinates or make a mistake, because you've given it two maybe contrary pieces of information and it's trying its best. These models are trained to help. They're designed to help. So they will try and give you an answer, even if that answer might not be consistent. So being able to take knowledge from people's heads, write it down, and feed it into these models is really, really, really important, right? That doesn't need to be any more sophisticated than writing some Word documents or some Excel spreadsheets and doing a good job of data quality in the sense of making sure it's accurate and it's timely and it's kept up to date. Right. I always have a little bit of a giggle with our legal team, because they go, AI, it can make mistakes. I go, humans, we can make mistakes, but it's true. But we've got this fear of, well, the AI will make a mistake. Well, actually, I think it's more a fear of we don't do a good enough job to give it the right information to basically come up with the right answers at times. So it's I would say, carry on with your data, right? Ones and zeros, your numbers, all that. Yeah. Knowledge is really key. Knowledge is your secret sauce. To be honest, I think in every business, knowledge, how to do something, how to engage with the consumer, how to treat an animal, how to do that, that's the thing that makes your businesses different. The ones and zeros gives you insight from an outcome or a sales or something like that, that's good. What you do with that is actually what makes you different. Right, so I would say, if nothing else from today, knowledge management. Get that right and it will start to make a difference when you start to play with these models if you're not already. Right, I'm going to shut up for a minute, you'll be glad to hear. Ask away, questions. Right, what's real, what's worrying you? Oh, got one at the back, gentleman at the back.
Just on that topic, so protecting your own information.
Yes.
So, as I've understood it, you buy your own subscriptions, you're staying in your own space.
Yes.
Feeding your own proprietary knowledge.
Yep.
And it's safer.
Yes.
How safe compared with the open model?
Okay, that's a real good point. So, so the question is around fundamentally, I'm going to tell that back and go, always read the T's and C's of the software you're using. How many read the T's and C's when you signed up to Facebook, to WhatsApp? They own your data. They own your data. You are the product. With large language models, it's the same thing depending on who you play and what you do with it. So we took an approach. Our legal team were suitably risk averse, that we took approach that we created our own environments in Microsoft Azure. The data never leaves our ecosystem. The models we use are deployed in Microsoft Azure. So that model isn't going out to OpenAI, isn't going anywhere else. The model runs on that infrastructure and environment. So we've really locked it down. Doesn't mean you have to do that. So if you sign an enterprise agreement with OpenAI directly, the clause is they don't use your data to train their models. And this is the rub, right? This is about data leakage, but it's much, much more serious than that. Because if you upload your company's financial information into a ChatGPT off-the-box model, or Claude, or Gemini, the small print says, we can use any of the data you provide to train our future models. Right? With these models, you cannot have a SAR request and I say, please take my data out of these models. It's in the model. And as these models iterate so quickly, there is real, if you put your strategy in there, you put your financial data in there, without having done the checks and balances to make sure the T's and C's explicitly say, we will not use this data to train our models. Well, I would say don't do it. We've got a compliance policy. Anybody who uses AI tools and pets at home has to have signed a compliance policy, and it's a disciplinary. Because it's almost like publishing all your internal strategy and financial information out on a public website and say, go for it. But it's worse. Imagine your competitors suddenly going, what's the profitability of pets at home? Oh, well, yeah, well, here's actually all the internal numbers, and here it is by area, and in theory they could start to do that. So we took that approach. It's a brilliant question. And it's even things like rights to something. So if you go, there's one of the best image generators, you've seen these fantastic image generators, I'm sure on TikTok and all these sorts of things. So Midjourney is one of the best out there. Doesn't matter whether you've got an enterprise agreement or a personal agreement, small print is Midjourney owns the rights in perpetuity to any image that's been generated, and they can do whatever they want with it. You have the rights to use it as well. It's yours, your IP, in quotes. You can't actually copyright a AI generated image, but they own the rights. They can do that whatever you want. So if you were creating a new product that was secret and you were doing all the imagery on it, Midjourney could publish that at any point or sell it to anybody. So the control of your data, the control of your intellectual property, you've got to be really careful with any of these tools. Another example recently in our space, in vets, our veterinary business is a joint venture model. So it's effectively 450 entrepreneurs, brilliant, really smart people. You've got to be smart to be a vet, I think, anyway, or dedicated, if nothing else. But there's this, 2 years ago, we built, as part of that experiment, checking whether the large language models were good enough for vets, we built something called an ambient digital scribe. What that means is when somebody came in for a consultation, it would just sit listening. It would transcribe the consultation, it would draft the clinical note for the vet, it would draft the pet parent comms, it would do the appointment booking. It just sits in the background, sits and listens. Move forward 18 months, there's 50 or 60 of them in the market, right? Because this is one of the other things is AI is now democratized. It's so cheap and so available that everybody can move really, really quickly. So the barriers to entry to a business model it's tricky, right? So you've got to have something unique. But we have all these veterinary shows, right? And the vets go to these veterinary shows and these guys have got these stands and go, oh, come and install this on your mobile phone and come and do this on your laptop. And they go, that's fantastic. And they take it in and they do some consultations, which they shouldn't do, by the way, Data Protection Act. DPIA is another angle, not just legal. But when we started looking at them, because the vets will come to us and say, oh, is this safe to use? And you go, absolutely not. Why? Because A, the contract terms are all with Canadian law, which we have no lawyers in. I'm not sure how you are up in Canadian law with anything you do. You're not. And two, it explicitly says all the data you put in will be used to train our models. That's also consumer data, right? Where you have very strict laws around GDPR, and everything we do needs to go through a DPIA. So, you cannot have customer data as well as pet data being used to potentially train a model which you don't know what they're going to do with it. It's a really, really important point. It's a really good question, actually. So you've got to be safe out there, folks, is guess what is there. Read the small print, because that is the Wild West. I'll be genuinely. There's really good players, and then there's people who are taking the Michael. See, didn't swear, Sam. It's good. Any other questions? Come on.
I'd welcome your thoughts on an area which I was with a business. We sold the business late last year, and it was retail business system, chiefly SMEs and charity sector. And we're trying to get the AI human interplay right for the customer journey. So if a customer needs help,
Yeah.
which bit should be AI and which bit should be the human?
Yes.
And in a wider perspective, I find quite often businesses seem to get that wrong, and often right by the time you speak to a human, you're perhaps a bit frustrated, which
Yep.
isn't fair on the human that you then speak to.
Yes.
How do you see businesses sort of squaring that off so that the AI bits and the business efficiencies are there,
Yeah.
but humans are approachable for when things are not easily solved? Or do you see a future where AI can just do it all?
So, I think we'll get to a point. I think you've again raised another little point. Is there's automation and there's AI as well. Right. So, there's a lot of hype just now. Everything's AI. Well, actually, smart automation is another way to look at some of these things. So we talk about it even within pets. We had a leadership meeting last Friday and they're talking about AI for this, and it's like, well, actually 90% of it's automation. It's not AI, it just gets bundled into the cool title. There's a whole range of things though when dealing with a consumer, or a consumer of this type of technology, the front facing. And some of this goes back to chatbot time, right? It's weird saying going back to chatbot time, but it's kind of true. You've got to think about the tone of voice, you've got to think about your brand, you've got to think of the consumer experience. How do you show up? How do you want to show up? Right? It's really, really important. And you've got to understand when you can you detect frustration? And when you do, how can you hand over effectively and seamlessly with as least friction and as best experience to a human in the loop? Right? This is my view. I'm sure Aaron would have a view on this as well, given his space. But so we're looking at that just now, right? So again, not giving anything away, but we've got MD that's been at the Pets at Home website. It's a traditional retail website. We've got a Vets for Pets site, which is knowledge-based. We're bringing all those together as part of a digital transformation. We're going to create an online digital assistant called Fetch. And Fetch is a puppy. So we're thinking about how do you get, so basically how you show up is I think, really, really important. Now that doesn't take away the frustrations if your chatbot / agents behind the scenes cannot respond to what that consumer or that pet parent wants. In our world, that could be something as simple as, where is my order? A Wizmo in a retail space, right? Yeah. Fully transactional, yeah. Right? You should be able to sort that out, bog standard stuff. But it might be as, my Lola's not feeling well. She's a 7-year-old Cavapoo. So I move into symptom-based guidance. Now that's a tricky one, because that's got clinical, right, so how do you do that? Or I want to talk about insurance, or I want to talk about, so you've got to be clear with the consumer about what you can and cannot do as that interface, but you should be able to intercept really quickly. So our strategy is, as soon as we detect sentiment analysis, which is going down, or friction in the conversation, we'll flip it to live agent, right? So we will never be agentless, human colleague agentless. We want less of the, and I'm sure it's the same, it's like a Pareto, right? Most of your queries are basic, simple stuff. Where is my order? It's incredibly low value for a human colleague to be answering those questions. So you deflect them, right? It's traditional call deflection or interaction deflection. But what we want to do is free our colleagues up to be really knowledgeable and those detailed. But where we sense the sense, so in Fetch that we're developing just now, it will automatically check sentiment of the conversation was going, and if it's noticing the sentiment drop, we'll flip it straight to a human agent with the full transcript. And behind the scenes, we've got AI agents on our CRM platform that automatically draft responses and engagements for live chat or email or whatever. We're switching off telephony as a strategy, good or bad. I don't think we'll ever get away with it. Outbound, yes, but inbound, we're trying to reduce it. But it's very much that for me, it's the consumer experience, your brand tone and what you want to there, but having clarity about what you can and can't do. The other thing you've got to realise is 95% of people still use chatbots as search engines. For me, AI is a thing, will disappear in 2 years. It's just going to be a part of our technology kit bag that everybody uses. We're getting there. Right? I've already said to my boss, I will be back doing another role in a year or two time. It's a moment in time piece. So keep the disciplines that you've got, do them. Business change if it's internal, consumer pilots, research groups, feedback groups, all that still has to happen. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just another piece of tech. And it might not be the right tech for the problem you're solving. It's the other thing. Everybody goes, AI will solve that. No. Pick the right solution for the right thing. Yeah, absolutely. Whereas, so we're setting up a brand new business from scratch, an adjacency to Pets at Home, which I think the stock market announcement's tomorrow, so you can hear about it tomorrow. I can't tell you about it today. But when we've looked at it, we wanted to design it agentic first, right? So it's a unique opportunity, greenfield, going agentic first. 80% of it's automation. It's not AI. It's just doing automation well on the basics of we've got good data, we've got good knowledge, we make an excellent consumer experience. You know, it doesn't matter if it's large language models or if it's statistical models, machine learning. It's just tech. Just tech.
So, and you finding that you have to invest in, can you sort of plug and play together with your legacy systems or where your legacy data is? You find you've got to do lots of sort of what you used to call sort of middleware stuff. Find
So,
engineer some of that? Or
so
just
Vicky Pollard, yes, but no, but. So what we've found, so we've, as I said, we've kind of went with Microsoft. Microsoft have about 2,000 connectors already pre-built. So I can connect into like Salesforce or SAP or all those sort of things. I don't need to develop that middleware, right? I call it plug and pray. Because it doesn't always do what you expect it to do, right? But remember I mentioned MCP earlier, Model Context Protocol. So MCP is a standard, and it is middleware, to your point, but it's a standard way of a large language model interacting with you build a little middleware server, effectively, and it goes and talks to the back-end systems. But it does all the translation, right? So what we're finding is where, in our world, we don't have a connector that Microsoft provides, we build an MCP server. Right, so we build one of those, it goes and talks to, so our FM platform, facilities management platform is Expansive. We've got an MCP server, it just goes and speaks to Expansive. Right, but all the front end is abstracted from it. So it doesn't need to know about that connector like it doesn't with the other Copilot connectors. It just knows it's got a tool that it can go and use. It's a different type of integration architecture, but it's becoming a common global kind of platform now. You'll just see more and more and more and more of these servers starting to be, it's hundreds open sourced already. So if you're using, unless you're using something quite abstract, you'll probably find there's there. But if it's, I'd call, you could be in the latest version of SAP or the older version of SAP, the connectors are still there that allow you to connect in. And what I'm finding is Microsoft are partnering, they're creating an ecosystem of partnerships, even with their competitors. So they've partnered with Salesforce, they've partnered with SAP, they've partnered with these things. The danger is you always have vendor lock-in, it's always a danger, but you've got to pick a horse. Yeah, you have to pick a horse, otherwise you'll be spinning and you never actually go anywhere. So we picked a horse. Hopefully the horse keeps running, doesn't fall at the second fence at the Grand National. That's a crap analogy, isn't it? Really crap analogy. But you've got to, otherwise you'll just look at 10,000 models and 15,000 suppliers, and it's quite an interesting thing in the marketplace as well, though. What we are finding is it's a hard time to be a startup, because you'll go and you'll say, oh, I've got a great idea based on this, and you'll start to build it, and then OpenAI or Gemini or whatever will just come and there you go, it's out the box. So all these image generating mid-journeys and all these kind of things. Look what Google released last week. I don't know if you've seen the new VO model. Oh, it's just incredible. Generating movies are movie clips that's got voice and audio and sound and physics, and it's like, that's just blowing a whole market segment. They're not blowing it, but they're going to struggle. And you're going to see massive consolidation over the next couple of years as well. So the titans, I think, will remain the titans, unfortunately. I hoped about 12 months, 18 months ago, we would have had a bit more of a open source, new players coming in, but it's tough. It's tough. They've got the data. Always comes down to data. When we train these models, it comes back down to data and processing power and just the money. So, surprised Apple have screwed up. They have screwed up big time in their AI strategy. They're way, way behind the curve.
Stuck in the 90s,
Yeah. Well, they've just sacked half their senior leadership in that AI space.
Pushed out the Apple Intelligence to 2027.
Yeah, And they'll come back with a vengeance with something later, but they'll just build on things that have been progressing. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, wow. So my question is more about kind of practicalities of strategy. So
Yeah.
our organisation doesn't yet have an AI policy.
Yep.
Although I know you put your hand up when the question was like, are we using it? People are using it in pockets.
Yeah.
So it's helpful to hear you talk about, kind of picking a couple of things, like
Yep.
kind of saying, let's go one or two things. And you also mentioned that you've got an innovation team.
Yes.
From kind of a business as usual process now, which sounds like you're in.
Yep.
When there's a new kind of idea of an area in the organisation to use AI,
Yep.
how does that? Is there a process that you have to filter that through? Are you gatekeepers for anything that anybody else? Because the danger for us is, I'm thinking somebody has an idea and goes off and does something, and then suddenly you're outside of your compliance policy without knowing it.
Shadow AI, I call it. We all had shadow IT, right? We've got shadow AI. So the answer is yes. We have an approach, but it's a standard program office approach. It just happens to be AI projects will come up. What we have is a triage process. So we've got together with legal, InfoSec, DPO, and our team, and effectively we'll triage an idea. So if somebody wants a piece of software out in the business, they just fill out a form, and we literally in a couple of days, we'll just quickly sanity check it. Have a quick look at the contract, have a look, does it fit with the AI strategy or not? We're not there to block. The AI is just, is it safe, and do people know what they're doing? We have created and by the way, if it helps, we can share the policies. Saves you writing one, right? So if you want to reach out, get the details off Sam, I can share what we've done. But we sat down, we created the policies, we created training, again, just to help people be safe. It's not to stop them. It's about being safe, and it goes back to the point we were saying earlier on about data leakage predominantly. What we don't want to do is have all our engineers put all our source code up, all our unique IP, our financials team putting those things up. So there's parts of it, it's learning, training, adoption, but then we've just got these front door processes that makes it easy for people to say, I want to get this checked, and we check it very simply. And again, happy to share that process. It's not rocket science, it's just having a basic process. If we triage it, we will not do an AI project unless it has a business case. Right? That's different from maybe just going by M365 licenses or whatever, that's cool. But we will have business cases. Our strategy at the moment, unless it has a P-bit implication, unless it makes more profit, right? It could be efficiency as well as revenue, right? We don't do it. The innovation team can go and play with tech. We build proof of concepts and ideas and things. Our latest one is we've got new headsets coming in. So in the store, you're going to talk to an AI. Right? So rather than just broadcasting in the store, you can say, where's the stock check? We've got compliance things for welfare for pets. They can talk about completing those checks and get alerts. That's what we'll proof of concept imply. But the projects don't get kicked off unless it goes through the standard project filter and gets prioritized alongside everything else. Because there might be something that has a bigger P-bit impact across the business. Well, it might be cool, shiny, sexy technology. There's more over there, but I'm more than happy to share those because again, there's nothing secret sauce about them. But it's just we've been through the grunt work already to sort of do it. But if you've got a project office, you've got a way you assess projects. It's the same. One thing I will say, top tip to everyone, is don't forget about how you measure your KPIs. And can you even measure your KPIs with some of these new technologies? Now, it might sound crazy. But what we found is we've deployed some of these technologies on the basis of architecture, and you find the dashboards don't exist, so the dashboards won't work, or you cannot get the data you need to get the measures out to prove something's a success or not. And you either then put your hands up and go, we can't measure it, never a good one with the board, or you end up trying to build some interim kind of solution that allows you to extract data, which can be a bit messy. Again, the tools are maturing, they're getting better, but watch out for that. When you're doing anything about measuring, the success of a project, make sure you can clearly get to the data that allows you to get those KPIs and measure them, whatever they may be. It could be average handling time in a contact center, or it could be efficiency of fraud case analysis, or it could be identifying more cases, etc. Business change, being able to measure, all those core general skills, as important, if not more important, as you go through the maturity curve of this AI and automation sort of hype, if you like, or phase. Who's going first?
Yeah. I was just interested in hearing your journey. So, from what I've heard, you've taken open source models and then you've made a big investment in making them your own.
So the proprietary model, so it's actually the opposite. We've taken off-the-shelf commercial models. So OpenAI, GPT 4.x or O3 or whatever. What we do is we deploy them in our own Azure environment. So I could either go and pay OpenAI to use their models, and we just call it via an API. Or what we do is, in our case, is we take that in a Microsoft world, deploy it into our tenant. So our basically our own space in Microsoft's infrastructure. It's all shared compute, it's cloud. And we run them there. We haven't taken any open source model, but we could. We could go and look at Mistral, or we could go and look at anything. The power of Microsoft now is anything that's on. If anybody had a Hugging Face? No? Love these names, don't you? So Hugging Face is a repository of large language models and other data science models that are all open source, all available. If you just go to huggingface.com, that's its little Hugging Face emoji. That hosts tens of thousands of models, right? What Microsoft done is basically partnered with Hugging Face and made those available through their Azure Foundry. So you can literally go in and go, I want to take that model, I want to deploy it, and I want to basically have my AI chatbot working with it. And you'll get that going in 2 minutes across all those thousands of models, right? You've not built an enterprise system there, by the way, you've just been able to deploy it. You can get API keys, you can then hook that into your broader ecosystem. We've deliberately just went for commercial to begin with. We are coming to the point where we may wish to fine-tune some of those models, right? Now that can be both open source and commercial. And what that means is we take those models, we put them in Azure, and we provide our own set of data to refine those models and fine-tune them to our knowledge, our data, our business context. Then it's uniquely ours, right? And we can then bring that model to bear in parts of our ecosystem. So if I wanted to do a veterinary one or an insurance one or something, I can start off with those. It's only been a conscious decision because, again, we are slightly risk averse around open source models because you cannot say where that data's been trained from. There's legal liabilities. If you go with Microsoft or Salesforce or Google, they will underwrite your liability if MD comes in and says that's wrong and it's because the model's wrong, right? So in all this, the authors are basically suing for use of information and stuff in these models. I've seen there's court cases all over the world. If you go open source, you're not protected with that liability. If you go commercial, as part of that deal, you get liability cover. So it's one of the decisions we made from a legal perspective is we want to have that liability protection from Microsoft or from Google or from Salesforce. Open source gives you so much more options moving forward. It's what's your risk appetite, what do you need to do it's different through it. There's also a lot of internal debate that we continue to have around Chinese models. So DeepSeek was released, you probably saw the hype about DeepSeek a little while ago. It's a fantastic model. Our company policy at the moment is not to use those models. Right? Doesn't mean we won't, it's just we've taken a stance about security, understanding where the training data comes from, efficacy, liability, those kind of things. Every organization's different. It goes back to read the small print and understanding where those models come from. We worry a lot about bias. I think sometimes we worry a little bit too much about bias, but it's something we've got to be careful of, particularly if you're using it to assess anything to do with an individual. So if you're a charity and you're using AI to assess cases or whatever, for us, if it's assessing, I don't know, if we were going to put it into recruitment and we were automatically assessing candidates, you have to be very clear about the potential bias those models can bring to that assessment process. I will also argue, by the way, that humans have a natural bias as well, right? So there's two sides to the coin. But the beauty is you could do any of the options you want just now, but we've went commercial deliberately for that liability protection.
I think I was interested in hearing whether from that point you had to do a lot of internal work. It sounds like that project still
Internal work
in terms of personalising and
so far, no. I mean, no word of a lie, the out-the-box large language models, even in the veterinary care space, are so accurate. You know, you talk about all these benchmarks, they can pass the bar exam and the medical exam and all. It's true. As general practitioners, the new models are like double PhD level. Certainly more qualified than I am in lots of topics. I mean, I use them a lot. So we've literally said we don't need to do all that extra work. Doesn't mean we won't do, to your point, when it comes to specific environments where we need rapid performance, we need surety of the model, that we don't fine tune it to give us our specific piece. So at the moment we might use what they call retrieval augmented generation, that's RAG. We give it the knowledge, we index it, we bring it alongside the LLM and say only use that knowledge when you respond. That'll work, but it's not always the most effective model. Whereas a fine-tuned model that's got all our data and everything within it is ours, it's our proprietary, and you'll get better performance and lower latency, less hallucinations, right? But hallucinations for me is when you provide it with poor data and poor prompts. You can control those. Can't always eliminate it, but you can control it. And when you're facing consumer, particularly, you've got that you have to be really, really careful, as we've seen. Also safety around putting safety prompts in when you're doing anything consumer facing. If it's internal and somebody wants to mess about with a large language model, that's a policy and a sackable offence. Right? You can control that through your policies. If a consumer's trying to mess with it, which you will get through prompt injection. All right? One of the smartest ones I've seen recently is somebody in their LinkedIn profile had actually put instructions for large language models at the bottom of the LinkedIn profile. So when the recruiters were using AI and LLMs to scan LinkedIn profiles, it was given instructions to override what the recruitment software was doing and do something else. It was actually getting them to email them all the contact details of the recruiter and stuff, so you could see who was doing it. This is why you get safety prompts and safety layers, which, by the way, is if you're in I would say a protect. So although I heard you maybe it's modern slavery and things like that, right? So be careful of the safety layers. A little tip for you. So all the major players, we put this safety layer in so you can't do bad things. Fantastic, 100% on board with that. Pet company, Shih Tzu. No, can't deal with that. It's a bad word. We've got products with duck breast. Oh no, can't deal with that. So you can actually find the safety layers actually stop. So if you're talking about slavery or you're talking about these things, you might actually find the models go, I'm not going to support that, I'm not going to talk about it. Good news is you can whitelist and you can change those models. But
we already have that with Google.
Yeah, you will.
We're dealing with sexual exploitation. We're searching for those things, but then it's triggering a blocker from
Yeah.
Google to say you shouldn't be looking at this.
But if you can create an enterprise license, there's whitelists. So what you can do is you can give it topics. So in Microsoft, that's what we did. We've created custom trust layers with Microsoft, and we've whitelisted the terms that were getting blocked. We still come across some, by the way. But we were scratching our heads for a long time going, why is this not working? Oh, Shih Tzu thinks it's a bad, honestly. But, and that's what I mean, they're still learning. They put these great things in. Just one other last little bit is, with all this layering of stuff that these companies do, another little watch out is when you're starting to use these things. they come with these context windows, large language models. So you normally got this size of text you can put in and it will understand and process. Things like Copilot Studio, if you use those, that context window collapses down massively. Why? Because they've done all that prompt injection stuff, they've done all the safety layer stuff, which eats that context, that token window, that context window. So you end up with a really small window. And this is what I mean about architecture. So you go into looking at a problem, and we ended up working with the product team in Microsoft going, why is this not working? This should just work out the box. And the reason was the context window had come down that small. When we were passing data in the fraud, it would barf because it just run out of headspace. It's like, I'll fall over. So there's things like that when you're doing, so you might pick Gemini as a better model because that's got a million plus context windows. Brilliant for that. Large, complex, multiple documents. Gemini is awesome. Copilot, no. Right? But you pick your model and you pick your solution. And what we're moving to now is different, going back to your point a little bit, different models for different purposes. Each agent can have its own model in the background. We don't need to be tied to one. So an insurance model, a veterinary model, general model might go, could use Gemini. Even though we're at the Microsoft house, we can call out to Gemini, we could call out to Claude from Anthropic. You pick the right model for the right problem. It's like a sweetie shop. But the thing is having the time to be able to play and understand what's good and bad, which is where our innovation team come in. We've been lucky. I'll be honest, we've been lucky to do that. But I'm happy to share, right, just general to MD, it's got questions, interested, policy stuff, happy to share, right? Because we've just been through it probably 12, 18 months before other people. That's all. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Today.
No worries. Pleasure.
Listen, I think you've been spoiled today, to be honest with you, because normally we think we're only going to get 20, 30 minutes of Simon's time. We've got just over an hour, so thank you for that. Really, really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
It feels like there's so much that you covered there. We're going to try and disseminate all of that and break it down and give that away to you for free, obviously. And as Simon said, if you've got questions or queries, things you want to ask him, then he's an open book. Thank you.
No worries.
Really
just like ping me on LinkedIn or whatever, or through Sam and John and Co. But honestly, generally here to help. We've been through the pain. You don't need to go through the same pain. You find your own pain in the nicest possible way. But here to help. And if we do set up this Northwest AI group, we'll get the details and make sure we've talked about it briefly.
Yeah.
Get details. I know Sheffield might have to come over to Manchester. I'm sorry, but make sure you can all get invited and come over. But the idea is it's not Microsoft or whoever pitching. It's basically us. Somebody can stand up, have a few. We'll get a few topics a bit like this, and but the Co-op's interested, Boohoo's interested, JD's interested. So there'll be some big names. Co-op will leave just now, and M&S, and maybe a few of them.
Some good learnings, though, don't they?
They've got some fantastic learnings. Yes. Don't envy them. But anyway, pleasure. Right, thanks for your time. Thanks for your interest.
Grab another drink. We've got an open bar. We've got tabs so you can go and get a coffee, just chill and relax. We've got this space till lunchtime. Obviously, appreciate you need to be other places. That's fine. Go and take a refreshment, a bathroom break, and thank you very much.
On Amazon, I would recommend it.
Have you written this?
I've not written it. However, I did contribute a chapter to it. But Pascal and the guys, they're on LinkedIn all the time. So if you want to look at Agentic, you'll find these guys. It is a really good book. It explains everything from Billy Basics all the way through, so depending on your level. I do generally recommend. I'm not plugging, I don't get paid. But they interviewed me as part of this book, but there's some really good stuff if you're just starting on that journey. If Agentic is your thing as opposed to general AI. Yeah.
So Pascal also does quite a good LinkedIn newsletter.
He does.
That you can sign
Yeah.
up
Pascal
to.
Born he's a well-known author. So he's done 3 or 4 books now, isn't he? Yeah. So, anyway.
I love though his LinkedIn stuff that he puts out, the weekly newsletter, fortnightly newsletter, something like that is really good.
Yeah.
Just summarising stuff that's going on.
And please, if you want to take a pastry away with you, please feel free.
You next? You all right, mate?
I'm not sure what the format is.